श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम् कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Yam sannyasam iti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava naya sannyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Arurukshormuner yogam karma karanam uchyate yogarudasya tasyeva shama karanam uchyate. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Yada hi nendriyarteshu na karmasvanushajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmeva syatmano bandhuhu atmeva ripur atmanaha. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Bandhur atmatmanastasya yenatmevatmana jitaha anatmanastu shastrutve vartetatmeva shatruvate. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shritoshya sukha dukkeshu tatha manapamanayoho. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Jnana vijnana kutasto vijitendriyah yukta ityuchyate yogi samaloštashma kanchanaha. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Surun mitraryudasina madhyastadveshya bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasistitaha ikakiyata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Shucho deshe pratisthapya stiram asanam atmanaha natyuchritam nati nicham chailajina kushottaram. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. Tatrekagram mana kritva yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunyad yogam atma vishuddhaye. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayannachalam stiraha samprekshya nasikagram svam dishascha. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Prashant atma vigata bihi brahmachari vrate stitaha mana samyamya makchittaha yukta asita matparaha. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasah shantim nirvana paramam matsamstamadigaccati. Thus practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. Nat yashnatostu yogosti Nachaikantam anashnataha Nachati swapnashilasya Jagrato neva charjuna. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough. Yuktahara viharasya Yuktacheshtasya karmasu Yukta swapnavabhodasya Yogo bhavati dukkhaha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva vatisthate nispriha sarvakamebhyaha yukta ityuchyate tada. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. Yatha dipo nivatasthaha nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogam atmanaha. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam Pashyan atmani tushyati. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. Sukham atyantikam yattade buddhi grahyam atindriyam vetti yatra na chevayam stitas chalati tatvataha. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin stito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samyitam sanishchayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This, indeed, is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. Sankalpa prabhavan kama tyaktva sarvana sheshataha manasevendriyagramam viniyamya samantataha. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Shaneh shaner uparame buddhyadrita grihitaya atma samstammana kritva na kinchit api chintayet. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Yato yato nishchalati manaschanchalam asthiram tatastato niyam yetade atmanyeva vasham nayet. From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Prashanta manasam yenam yoginam sukham uttamam upeti shantarajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental, loving service to the Lord. Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Sarva bhutastitam yo mam bhajatyek atvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Atmopam yena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable for me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Shri Bhagavan uvacha asamshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grahyate. Lord Krishna said, O mighty-armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Asamyatatmana yogaha dushprapa iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptumupayataha. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Arjuna uvacha ayati shraddayopetaha yoga chalita manasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Kachinno bhaya vibrashtaha Chinnabhramiva nashyati apratishto mahabaho vimudo brahmana pati. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man, who is bewildered from the path of transcendence, fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud, with no position in any sphere? Etan me samshayam Krishna chetum arhasya sheshataha tvad anya samshayasyasya chettanasyupapadyate. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Parthanaiveha namutra Vinashastasya vidyate Nahi kalyana krit kaschide Durgatim tata gacchati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Partha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samaha shuchinam shrimatam gehe yoga brashto bhijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Atava yogi nameva kule bhavati dhimata etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yad idrisham. Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth into a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labhate porvadehikam yatate chatato bhuyaha samsiddho kuru nandana. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. Purvabhyasena teneva hriyate yavashopi saha jignasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Prayatnadyatmanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishaha aneka janma samsiddhaha tato yati param gatim. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately, achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Tapas vibhyodhiko yogi jnani bhyopi matodhikaha karmibhyaschadiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Yoginamapi sarvesham madgatenantar atmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam sameyuktatamo mataha. And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.